Well, God is God, and I am not God. As we've been hearing over the summer school, that's not the sentence we start with, is it? We actually start with the absurdity. We start with the vile and muck-filled horror of I am God, and God is not God. We start with self-idolatry. We start as the God pretenders, as Derek's been telling and unfolding to us this morning. I am God, and you are not God, and God is not God. We never actually say it that boldly, would we? But we're quite happy to live it boldly. To live the self-centric life where my needs and wants, my comfort and convenience are paramount, where I am the master and commander of all that I am. In our society, we're actually applauded when we live that out. It's what our kids are taught in our schools. It's what leadership and self-actualisation seminars across the country tell us. It's what our consumer culture and economy is based on. It's based on idolatry of self. Have you ever wondered why we in the West lack external idols, to use the words that Wayne used yesterday? Why don't we have great big statues set up in our shopping centres? Why don't we have great temples and place impressive gods in them? I wonder whether idolatry of other things is actually just a cover for idolatry of self. If the first sin was motivated by being like God, being our own God, able to choose what is right and what is wrong, then is all non-worship of God a grasping after self-worship? Do we make idols in our own image so that we can worship ourselves? If that's the case, and there's a lot more to be said, there's a whole role of the spiritual realm that's opposed to God in all this as well. But if that's the case, do we lack obvious idols in the West because we've simply given up the facade? We've become bold and shameless and indeed proud of our sin, and so we unabashedly give ourselves over to self-worship. Perhaps we lack physical idols, not because we're not idolaters, but because we're bolder idolaters. The God pretenders. And the thing about idolatry is that it enslaves you, it gets its claws into you, it taints you, it reaches into your heart, into the very depths of who you are, and it deposits its filth. So that what proceeds from my heart, what comes out of it, is the darkness of my self-worship, the muck of my pride, my selfishness, my lovelessness, that necessarily comes from believing that I am God and God is not. And so our hearts and our minds and our mouths become full with a filth and a grime that no amount of scrubbing is going to clean. A muck that's not just skin deep, but it is heart deep. And that is why we need the Holy Spirit.